out loud.
Research indicates that 90% of extreme insomniacs consume large amounts of coffee. Since Tom drinks a lot of coffee, it is quite likely that he is an extreme insomniac. Well, I feel like, the conclusion is since Tom drinks a lot of coffee, it's quite likely that he's extreme insomniac. And it's not an issue of sufficient necessary because our premise doesn't really like call into question that.
Yeah, we don't have any conditional reasoning going on here.
No, my thought is maybe the flaw of like my thought was overgeneralization.
Okay. So let's think about, even before we label it as a flaw, so we're saying research, so 90% of extreme insomniacs, so we're talking about extreme insomniacs consume large amounts of coffee. Since Tom drinks a lot of coffee, it's quite likely that he is an extreme insomniac. So we're saying that extreme insomniacs are likely to, actually, I guess it kind of could be conditional. Maybe I went too far to say it's not. Extreme insomniacs, 90% of them, so let's say most, consume large amounts of coffee. And then actually, this is completely conditional. Tom drinks a lot of coffee, he must be an extreme insomniac.
So it's again like an incorrect negation because you're.
Yeah, we take.
Or an incorrect reversal.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's incorrect reversal because just because you're an extreme insomniac and like 90% of them drink coffee, like from one of the things I used to do, like I'm envisioning kind of my like Venn diagram that you could have like all of these people who like these insomniacs and like.
I have a great example for you. Since 90% of Ohio State fans like football, or research shows 90% of Ohio State fans like football. Since Lindsay likes football, she must like Ohio State.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So it's saying like
she's like, no, never forgetting this flaw again. Never gonna put up with an example like that again.
Yeah, no. That makes sense. Like I said, kind of like that image of having extreme insomniacs drinking like this. Sorry, I just want to draw this really fast.
No, you're fine. Sure.
So this is not a good like picture, but my point like that we kind of were learning that I learned with the old thing is like, if I have all these extreme insomniacs and like 90% of them drink coffee, there is still this outlier of individuals who drink coffee and who don't need to be extreme insomniacs.
Oh, right. But also there's all these people that might, like, we're just talking like 90%, if these are all our extreme insomniacs here, and 90% of those drink large amounts of coffee. Our large amounts of coffee people could be like this big. Like, that's a terrible picture. But yeah, absolutely. All right, so go ahead and start with A.
It fails to acknowledge the possibility that Tom is among the 10% of people who drink large amounts of coffee who are not extreme insomniacs. I don't like that because of the 10%.
It feels because that Tom is among, because we're not even saying that, because it's not the 10% who drink large amounts of coffee. Like that's not what
it's 90% of extreme insomniacs. So that's just like, so not A. B, it fails to consider the possible contribution to extreme insomnia of other causes of insomnia besides coffee. I don't think that accurately portrays our.
No, our issue is we don't care what causes insomnia or what doesn't.
It's about the coffee drinking and whether or not that makes somebody likely.
We're trying, like, just does drinking coffee alone does drinking a lot of coffee make it quite likely that you are to be an extreme insomniac? And it's like,
Yeah.
no.
C, it relies on evidence that does not indicate the frequency of extreme insomnia in people who drink large amount of coffee. I would like to keep C.
Okay.
D, it draws an inference about one specific individual from evidence that describes only the characteristics of a class of individuals. I don't think that this is part to whole.
Yeah, that from evidence that describes only the characteristics of it draws a conclusion about a specific individual from evidence that describes only, no. We don't like this we would have to be talking about like the 90% of actual extreme insomniacs for D to be correct.
Yeah. E, it presumes without warrant that drinking coffee always causes insomnia. Oh, yeah, I think it's E.
Do we assume that drinking coffee always causes insomnia though?
Isn't that what it's saying? That if you drink large amounts of coffee, then you're likely to be, oh, it doesn't say always. It says
No.
likely.
And also, like, how do we know that being in, like, I think based on this, I don't think we're saying one causes the other. I think being an extreme insomnia could cause you to drink a lot of coffee. I think you could draw the same conclusion from this. Like,
God,
technically, we don't like we know that's probably not the case, but technically, it's not saying one causes the other.
that's true. It's not like a causation issue.
We're not saying that, like, So,
Okay, so then it is C.
Which says it relies on evidence that does not indicate the frequency. Yeah, because like we're relying on evidence of like how often. It does not indicate the frequency of extreme insomnia among people who drink coffee. What if only like 1% of people that drink a lot of coffee are actually insomniacs, and this 90% is only of that 1% of people?
Yeah, well, it's saying too, like we looked at our conditional statements, it's saying that, for most people, extreme insomnia is sufficient enough to drink large amounts of coffee, but that doesn't mean that large amounts of coffee drinking is like sufficient enough to be an extreme insomniac.
Excellent.
Okay, so it's C. That makes